this with all the documents. The same documents are also available on the portal, which I would kind of briefly describe as to what it is, but all the documents have been shared with you yesterday, and please do have a look. So let me explain this one by one. So what is this capstone project? So BDM capstone. So you will be doing a course on BDM theory, which is on business data management, and then you have a course on BDM capstone project as well, which is a separate course altogether. Now, in BDM capstone project, there are two avenues. One is capstone project with primary data, which is what we all encourage you to do, and the second one is with the secondary data for those who do not have time. They can also go, you have the option of going either with primary or secondary, and let me kind of explain as to what the difference between primary and secondary is. So what is a capstone project? So capstone project means that it is an independent research project wherein the student kind of approaches a business, and the business could be from an organized or an unorganized sector, or structured or unstructured business. For example, like if you take a vegetable vendor, a street vendor, or kirana stores, these tend to be unstructured businesses where there is no data keeping in place. Or if you take a structured businesses like manufacturing, automobile, supermarkets, etc., they are known to be organized or structured businesses where there is record keeping or data keeping. Now, what is to be done here is that you reach out to a business, any of these businesses, whether it is structured or unstructured, your choice. Speak to them, try to identify the problems that they face. Okay, collect data pertaining to the problem. You kind of do some kind of data cleaning, then perform an analysis, and then give certain novel insights to the decision maker. So now you have to understand that when you're doing this with primary data, which means that if it is a primary data project, which means that you need to capture primary data, which means you have to speak to the business and collect data from them. So that is what is referred to as primary data. Do not collect data from any repository like Kaggle, GitHub. If you do that, it is referred to as secondary research, which is not this, which is completely separate. And keep in mind that this is an independent research project, okay, which means that you have to do it on your own. So what are the different steps? So the first step that you do is that you reach out to a business. Now, how to reach out to a business? What is that you need to speak when you meet a business owner? There will be a class on it in the next week, maybe next week or a week after that. I'll kind of give a lecture on how is that you approach a business and how is that you reach out to them. So this is something post 1 or 2 weeks, but today is just an orientation. You reach out to a business, you meet them, and you kind of introduce yourself and you make field notes. And I hope you understand what field notes is. That to whom did you speak to, who are the key people who are involved, what was discussed in this meeting, and how many meetings were done, so on and so forth. In addition, you have to understand what kind of business it is, right? So a business could be B2B or it could be B2C as well. So what is the difference between B2B and B2C? So if you look at this particular slide of mine, so you'll see that in B2C, it refers to as business to consumer. Let's say that you're buying a phone from Amazon, and you are the end customer, and the end customer is an individual. It is referred to as B2C. Whereas what is B2B? In B2B, the end customer is a business. Let's say that Amazon and its supplier, the transaction happening between these two entities is referred to as B2B. So this is basically the difference between B2B and B2C. There are many other differences, which I will park not for now, but at a later stage. So what you do post this is you try to understand what kind of business they are in, whether they are into B2B, whether they are into B2C, or whether they do both B2B and B2C as well. Because if you look at Amazon, for example, they do both B2B and B2C. Or maybe you reach out to a business who are into both, or maybe they're into one, or it's your choice at the end of the day whether you want to kind of go for a B2C one or whether you want to do both. So we encourage that whatever is okay with you, you can go with that. And you speak to them first. It's not just that you go directly and ask for the data. You speak to them and try to understand the problems that they're encountering, and what is the problem that they encounter. And it's not that you go directly reach out to them and start doing it. Now, how to approach them, how is that you kind of reach out to them, all this would be covered in the next session, not for today. And you reach out to them and try to understand the various problems that they face, and then you decide what problem is that you want to solve. But make sure that when you decide, or when you kind of narrow down on a problem, make sure that you have a data pertaining to that particular problem, which you'll be collecting from them, which means they would be providing the data. But let's say that if they are not in a position to provide you the data, then what you could also do is you could collect data on your own. Let's say that if it's a vegetable vendor and if they do not maintain data, then what you could do is please increase the size. Okay, sorry for that. just increase. I hope this is fine now. So what you could do is that reach out to them, and then
Sir, sorry,
yeah,
sir.
yeah,
I just got slightly held up. That's why. I think I missed something. Could you just start
yeah.
over?
This is being recorded, Krishnam. So you don't have to worry. So we'll be sharing the recordings as well. So I just started and I was telling what BDM capstone project is all about. So
Mm-hmm.
basically where what the student does, please mute yourself. So basically what the student does is that you reach out to a business, and this business could be, it could be structured or it could be unstructured, which means that structured businesses are those businesses where they do proper data keeping. Unstructured businesses are those where they do not maintain data. For example, if you take the example of vegetable vendor, they may not be maintaining the data, most of them. Kirana stores, they may not maintain data, whereas if you take a manufacturing industry or an automobile industry, so on and so forth, they have a proper data keeping in place. Now what you do is that you reach out to these businesses, you speak to the key people in these businesses, try to identify the problems that they face, and then you collect data pertaining to that problem. You kind of clean the data, do the analysis, and give them certain insights, which is helping them solve this particular problem. Please don't put anything in the chat for now. I will take all your questions later. Okay, all the things will be shared with you later. And then what you have to do is, when you decide to work on a problem, when you have a problem, let's say that the sales is down, you have to collect different variables as a part of solving that particular problem, right? You collect the variables, the different variables, we call it as variables. Let's say that the problem is the sales is down, the business is not doing good, so on and so forth. When you identify a business problem, to solve that problem, you need to collect certain variables. And how do you identify these variables? It is pretty easy. When the sales is down, let's say that you might want to know what is the opening stock, what has been the closing stock, what is the rate at which things were procured, what was the rate at which it was being sold. So you have to keep asking it yourself as to what is being done. And there is also a document which kind of delineates what is to be done. You then clean the data. Data cleaning is an important process. And why is it important? That let's say that you go with erroneous data. If your data has errors, then the output that you get will also have errors. For example, let's say that a bakery sells four types of bread. They do this data keeping for, like, let's say for 1 month. You'll see that the first three type of bread, it is 20 rupees, 30 rupees and 40. And the fourth variant, you see that it is something like 450, and you definitely know that this is wrong, because a bread cannot cost you that much. And if you decide to kind of proceed with it without kind of cleaning it, or without kind of removing it, or whether clarifying it with the business, and you proceed with it, the output that you get is totally wrong, and any kind of inferences that you make from it is also going to be wrong. Okay, so once you clean the data, you have the fresh data set with you. Okay, because we always know that data is equal to information plus noise, and there is a need to separate the noise so that we have the good information available with us. You analyze the data and you provide certain novel insights to the decision maker, which means what should the businesses be doing, what is that they should be avoiding, and in what ways does your solution address the business problem. Now make sure that these insights should be novel, which means that this is something which the decision maker shouldn't know, and it has to come from your data and not by intuition, which means based on the data that you collect and the analysis that you do, the insights should be derived from that and not from intuition. So now, how is the flow of project? Okay, so this is how the flow chart of the project is. All the documents have been shared with you, so you don't have to worry. So the project is divided into 4 stages. So we start with what we refer to as proposal submission, and I'll explain in 2-3 minutes as to what each stage of submission is. So the proposal submission is evaluated for 100 marks, and it is scaled down to 20%. We then have midterm submission. Again, it is evaluated for 100 marks and scaled down to 20%. So your final submission is, like your final movie, right? Wherein you give a big report, and it is again evaluated for 100 marks. We scale down to 40%. And then we have something referred to as Viva OC, which is you just give a presentation, a 10-slide presentation at the end. Again, evaluated for 100 marks and scaled down to 20. So if you kind of calculate it, compute it, it is 20, 20, 40, 80, and 100%. Now, the most important thing I want to reiterate again, though it is the orientation session, is that this is an independent project. You should not be doing it with others. Second thing is, do not share your report with others. So what has happened is, over the years, we have kind of found some students copying from each other, submitting similar reports with subtle changes. And if we find that out, it will be desk rejected. And in addition, if any reports are found to be plagiarized, it will result in a failure rate for the BDM capstone project. And in addition, the student will have to rework on the new project with a new business, and further they would be barred for 1 to 2 terms. So this is the quantum of punishment in case if there is a plagiarism or any copying which is found at any of the stages. Let's say that proposal went well, midterm went well, final also went well, but in the viva if it is encountered, because every term we find 5 to 10 students doing this, we catch them at any stage. If any cheating or anything is encountered, then the student not only receives fail grade, but it's just a waste of time. You lose 1 term, 1 to 2 terms, and then you have to rework with a new business. So what is the timeline for 2024 students? So this is the link. So if you I have sent you this document. So we have provided a link, and in this link you'll be making your submission irrespective of your project being primary or secondary. Now what is primary, secondary, and I'll be explaining it in a minute. So what happens is that these are the current timelines. So what are the current timelines? So every month 1 to 5th, so there is a window which opens for proposal, which means that your batch, you can ideally start submitting from 1st to 5th of every month. But since it is the orientation, we recommend that you start from November. Take time, because you'll have to spend some time with speaking to the people, right? And once you submit it between 1st to 5th, what will happen is that the results will be announced by 10th, which means that your results could be announced on 6th. But we have given a deadline for the TAs that the results should be announced on 10th. However, it is contingent on the number of submissions that we receive. Let's say that we receive a huge volumes of submissions like 200 or 300. It may so happen that it may extend by 2-3 days. Now once your proposal is clear, you then only your portal opens for a midterm submission, which is from 6th to 10th of every month. And if let's say that your results are announced on 6th or 9th, you can submit the midterm on between 6 to 10. But if your results are announced on 10th, then you can only submit it in the next month. You understand what I'm saying? So if you want your results to be announced faster, make sure that you submit on the first or the second day of the submission. So if you submit it at the end on 5th, then you can typically expect your results will be declared in the end, which means that you cannot make your midterm submission immediately. Now once the midterm is done, the announcement of the results happen on 15th. Again, terms and condition applied, subject to the number of submissions that we have received. And following that, there is final submission between 11th to 15th of every month, and the results are announced on 20th, and then it has the viva OC. So typically we see that students take 3 to 6 months to complete this particular project. And in addition, there are certain YouTube channels which some of you were asking me. And there is a link here where all these details are kind of put. And my colleague, Dr. Aditya, takes classes every Sundays, and wherein doubts pertaining to BDM capstone project is covered. And what you can do is that join this live session. It happens on every Sundays at 11:30 a.m. and you can join and you can clarify your doubts. Okay. And I'll be taking more of master classes. So I'm there for the orientation. I'll be taking 2 or 3 more classes on how to approach businesses, maybe 1-2 weeks from now, and more on services marketing, little bit of data analysis, so on and so forth. And you can also have a look at the best BDM capstone projects. So let's say that the student does the project really well, we reward them too, and they are awarded the best capstone projects. And if you had been for your paradox, questions at a later stage, please. And
Oh,
if you have been at the paradox, been to the paradox, you'll see that the best capstone projects, they get a chance to present. Now, before you submit, what is very important is that a declaration statement is to be given. So a declaration statement is just a statement stating that you're doing the project on your own. And, we have given the document as well. So you just have to kind of write your name, put the project title, and put your digital signature at the end. So we may also be kind of sharing this. Please do not put the questions in the chat at this stage, please. All the documents have been shared. So what happens is that this, we are trying to incorporate it into the portal, which means to say that we may incorporate it into the portal from next month, which means that you directly click on the portal and do it. But even otherwise, all these documents are provided to you, sent to you by mail, and also can be accessed via the portal as well. Now, if you have any queries on payments and registrations, definitely I and Aditya are the faculties, and we have no answers on your payments and your grades and any other things. So please reach out to sindhuja@study.iitm.ac.in. We will not be responding to any such emails on discourse or via email. So if you tag us on matters related to payments, I grades, or project registrations, we don't answer, we don't reply to it. But any queries, whether it is regarding the project submissions or technical project related issues, please send a mail to Aditya and me, mark both of us. Okay. And before sending mail, make sure that you have gone through all the documents and the live session. So if you have not attended the live sessions, if you have not gone through the documents, we will not be answering them, because we deal with huge volumes, and it is very important that, so that is why we have shared all the documents well in advance. Okay. So now, what is this project proposal? So the project proposal has to be 4 to 5 pages long, and we have also shared a project proposal, how it is to be done. As I said, that it is evaluated for 100 marks and scaled down to 20. A pass mark of 50 out of 100 is needed, and two objectives must be defined in the proposal. And let's say that if one objective is also okay if it is broader. So the first thing that we do is we look for a declaration statement. So if your declaration statement is missing, the projects get desk rejected. Second thing is that what is the rejection criteria further is that, are you having a business problem? Okay, business problem is a problem with the business faces. So if you say that some technical problems, if you give that this is happening with the app is not functioning, that's not a business problem, right? So that's a technical problem. And we also have a document defining what is a business problem and how is a technical problem, how are both different. And all our documents are like shorter reads, which means each document will not take you more than 15 minutes. And we have made it very simple. We have crafted it in very basic English language so that it is easy for you to understand. So if it is not a business problem, it's a rejection straight away. Second thing is plagiarism. So if you use AI tools, or if you kind of copy paste, or reproduce content like that, we do have tools to check all this. And if it is done, plagiarism is detected, again the report is desk rejected. And whenever it is plagiarized, plagiarism means you copy from some sources or you copy from some other reports. It will also be kind of sent to the disciplinary committee. And then, as I said, there are certain sanctions when something like plagiarism is detected. So in the in the proposal, what we need first is the executive summary. I'll again explain what executive summary and these contents are. We have one more document on that. For now, you have an executive summary. Basically, the executive summary is nothing but the summary of your report. Okay, so you write a 5-page report, but executive summary is like the trailer of a movie. So you kind of give the summary, you give details about the organization background. Now again, what I want to emphasize here is that do not copy paste things, write it in your own words. Do not use any AI tools because it gets detected. You kind of give your problem statement and the objectives, background of the problem, and problem solving approach, so on and so forth. So you may ask me, like, Ashwin, like, how is that at the proposal stage itself we will be able to say what approach we would be using or what are the likely tools that we'll be doing? So once the problem is defined, you have a rough idea of what kind of analysis you're going to perform, right? For example, let's say that we have quantitative data and a qualitative data. Then let's say that I might go with a box and whisker plot. So you see, but if let's say if it is both quantitative variables, then I might go with a scatter plot. So you are kind of going to give us this, like what is that you plan to do, and you kind of justify them. Now this might change when you go later stage. Proposal is basically a rough idea, and we kind of validate and tell you whether you are on the right lines. Definitely the proposal might, the tools or the methods that you want to use might change or refine as you go to midterm, which is fine. However, your problem statement and the business has to remain the same throughout the completion of the project. So if you've chosen a business, if you've chosen a problem statement, it remains same throughout the end of the project. The next thing is work breakdown structure and the Gantt chart. Again, I'll be explaining as to what it is in some time. And finally, the expected outcome, that what is that you expect from this particular project? I mean, what is the outcome of this particular project? Again, I have a document which I'll be explaining soon. So, which I'll take this. So then we come to the midterm. And what happens in midterm is your proposal is 4 to 5 page long, whereas your midterm is 8 to 10 pages long. And what is needed in the midterm is, you might ask me, like, you see, there is something called as executive summary here, right? So there is executive summary in the proposal, there is executive summary in the midterm, and the executive summary is also in the final submission. Now I have made a point here that you'll see that in some instances, uh, some sections are similar across submission. That doesn't mean that you write the same summary and give to us. Obviously, when you move from one stage to the next, your executive summary or your analysis kind of refines. So if you just copy paste the same thing from proposal to midterm, it gets rejected. So make sure that when you write it for the midterm, obviously you have some kind of analysis. When you go for final submissions, you have more analysis. So your executive summary also refines. Now what is needed is, in the primary data submission, is your proof of originality. And this is extremely important. So what is needed in this case? We need a letter from the organization, head and stamp and sign. This is for structured business. If it is an unstructured business, definitely they'll not be having a letterhead. In such cases, you can just provide a letter and with a signature. And in addition, we need some pictures and videos wherein we can establish credibility. And there has to be a short video of 3 to 8 minutes wherein you discuss, your project with the founder. You can discuss it on any topic. I again have a document on it, so on and so forth. Now, if this is not provided, the report gets rejected. How much ever good it is, we reject the report because this is important to establish credibility. Then we have something called as metadata and descriptive stats. Now, what is metadata and descriptive stats? You'll find it in the links below. But basically, to put it in simple words, you have defined the problem now. You have the objective which is listed, the problem is defined, and the variables that you collect as a part of addressing that particular problem is your metadata. And for every metadata variable, you will have your descriptive statistics, right? Your mean, median, mode, so on and so forth, details of which could be is found here. Yes, the video can be in any language. What we do next is you have to kind of provide a detailed explanation. So let's say that you're drawing a graph. Don't just randomly draw a graph. You have to justify why is that this graph is drawn, and why is that this is the best choice of graph. You have to rule out some alternate explanations. You have to justify saying that why do you draw this graph, why do you think this is the best graph, right? And then you kind of explain your results and findings, the insights based on the analysis that you have done. Now, do not make similar submissions for midterm and final. So when midterm submission is more of a preliminary result, and whereas final submission is more of a complete report, like final movie. And video interaction is very, very essential to establish credibility. So a question was there in the chat where they asked, can it be in any language? Definitely yes. We understand that. I mean, people know different languages. It can be in Tamil, it can be in Hindi, it can be in Malayalam, it can be in any language. Okay, so and if there are videos and pictures that you wish to share, you can insert it in a drive link and kind of provide access. For your questions, it's all provided in the documents. You have to go back and do it. Now, what is the final submission? Please don't put your questions at this stage. Let me finish my submissions and then I will kind of take your questions. Do not put it in the chat box. So finally, we have a final submission. So what happens in the final submission is that it should be 18 to 20 pages long. So if you give us a report which is 12 pages, definitely it will be rejected because everything has a lower and a upper limit. So your proposal is 4 to 5 pages, your midterm is 8 to 10 pages, and your final submission is 18 to 20 pages. And again, now you are explaining things in much detail, and you're giving all possible things. And you can use any tool that you wish to, whether it is Excel, R, Python, whatever that you want to use, M plus, anything that you can use. And finally, you will be having something which is called as Viva OC, and which is being done by examiners who are from the industry. So they come and you make 10 slides, all inclusive, and you give the presentation. Your presentation would be for some 20 minutes, and they will ask you questions for 30 minutes, and by 1 hour you'll be done, and that is the end. So if you have cleared all the first 3 stages, Viva is just a formality. It's just that they will ask you questions, they will give you suggestions for improvements, and definitely at the end of the project, you'll really learn something at the end of this particular project. Now, some of you might be asking me, what are the textbooks which is worth having for this? So I would recommend 3 different textbooks. One is Malhotra and Das for marketing research, if you have. So it is worth having in your personal library. I and Aditya are avid readers. We have a personal collection of 2,500, 3,000 books. But then if you guys are interested and want to explore further, first is a must have. The second one is on statistics for business and economics. They have explained stats beautifully in this book. Definitely a must have in your library. Suppose your domain is services. If your business is on services domain, then Yokenwords and Lovelock is a book which is a must have. And finally, for those working on inventory related issues, so on and so forth, operations kind of problems like, stock related issues, stock outs, what should be the repurchase order, so on and so forth, then you can go with the operations kind of textbook. So these are the 4 textbooks that we recommend. 1, 2 is something which I would definitely advise that you kind of have a look at it. Okay, so now I'll go with what we refer to as secondary data. Okay, so this is with primary data. Well, let's say that for students who don't have time, those are working professionals, and I will take the questions at the end. So please do not put anything in the chat at this stage. It will just waste time. So I will take all the questions at the end. So what is with secondary data? So with secondary data, what happens is that, let's say that the student does not have time and things like that, then you basically have an option to do with secondary data. Now, what happens in secondary data is that in secondary data, there are only 2 stages of submission. Okay, which means you don't have a midterm submission. You just have a proposal and you have a final submission. But the catch is here: the grades that you get is only D and E. Okay, which means with primary data, you have grades starting from S to E, which means we strongly recommend that you go with primary. But let's say you do not have time and want to do secondary, you can do with secondary as well. Now, in this case, how do you do this identify problems? Basically, you can go to this data repositories, Kaggle, GitHub, and then you can just identify problems from there. Take down the data set, do an analysis. Essentially, the work required is more or less the same. The work required is more or less the same, right? So the only benefit of doing with primary data is that you will learn something at the end, whereas with secondary data, your work required more or less is the same, but the learning that you get from secondary is not actually much. So again, the process is the same. You just have two stages of submission. You, for this, the rubrics is same as that of the primary, but with just two stages of submission. Now, once this is done, there are four things that I wanted to do it for. Proof of originality here, what the student needs to do is kind of provide us details of the website. Let's say that you copy paste analysis and things directly from here, it is desk reject. Okay, now here the student only receives an accept and reject. Okay, and only receives an accept and reject. There are no comments given to you, whereas in primary we give in-depth comments, we give you scores. Here there are no scores, you just get an accept and reject. Again, this is an independent research project. Students copying from each other would get a fail grade. If the student replicates figures, things from the website, directly copy paste things, it will be rejected. Our TAs are very strict. They have hawk eyes and they catch each and everything. Most importantly, don't ask others for their reports, nor you share your reports to others, because usually what happens is that many students, they take it from others and then they copy, and eventually what happens is that whoever has given the report plus whoever has copied, both have to pay at the end. So this is what we do with secondary data. So now I had explained you about the project, primary and the secondary one. So let me kind of briefly kind of explain what is happening with the project. So first thing is, when you submit reports, make sure that the report has name and roll number. So if you say that, okay, we submitted it on the portal, and so we did not put the name and roll number, it is desk rejected. It is as good as you submitting an answer paper without having your names on it. So we reject it. Most importantly, keep your document very clean and neat. So if you look at my documents, the documents which I and Aditya prepared, you know, it is very neat and clean. So keep Times New Roman, 1.5 spacing, left, right, justified to out. And most importantly, the titles should be very nice. See, look at the sample titles we have given, how nicely these titles have been crafted. Don't simply say that I'm going to compute the profits of a idli vada shop, increasing the performance of ABC company. It looks weird at first glance, right? So it should be very, very professional. Now, the next thing that comes is, I told you about the executive summary. Now, what is this executive summary? Your executive summary is like trailer of the movie. It summarizes the report. So you are going to tell the reader what is the key point in your report. Now, why do we do an executive summary? Is that if you look at any businesses, all the managers would be interested in what is there in that executive summary. So that summary in itself will decide whether the reader would want to take it next. I mean, would they want to kind of read further or things like that? So this is very, very important, where you're summarizing the entire report. Okay, please do not put your questions. As I told you, I'll take it at the end. An executive summary tells the reader what are the key points. It includes the following. You have to indicate the purpose of the report, the descriptions, results and conclusions, recommendations. So you're kind of writing the summary when you're doing this particular project. And then never say that I'm going to identify bottlenecks. Definitely that is not possible. Whatever we do is only a small drop in the ocean. We can definitely not find bottlenecks, because a problem has a business problem has multiple issues. I mean, different issues contribute to one particular problem. Like, so it is definitely not possible. We try to make attempt to solve a particular issue. And what you do about the background of the company is, you mention about the company, give information about the founders, the net worth, write it all in your own words. Make sure you write it in your own words. Take your time, listen to them, and write it like a story. What are their product service offerings? What are the portfolios? How many employees do they have? Which are the different locations? If it is a structured business, then definitely there is a mission and vision statement, right? If it's unstructured, it is not there. So what is a mission statement? Mission statement is the basic purpose of existence, and your vision statement is the statement of future reality. What the company aspires to be in the future is a vision statement. So you then speak to them and then identify the different problem, and then you decide whether you want to work on many problems or one problem. Now, how much problem statements to take, now that depends on you. If the statement is broad, and if you can cover all the contents we have asked for, even one is sufficient. Otherwise, take 2 and 3 and work on it. And how do you identify this? You identify this only once you uncover this only once you discuss this with business owner. And what is very important as students to understand is that most of the times we think that we know everything, but then when you speak to the business, you'll find out that there are many issues which you never knew existed unless and until you speak to them. And this report is not just this is not just doing a project just to for the sake of grades. Have to keep in mind that learning from this actually helps you, in your interviews, or for your internships and all. And there are more than 10,000 reports that we have evaluated in the last three and a half years. And I can certainly say that, students have been greatly benefited from this project. And in fact, even in your paradox, what has happened is that, the company people straight away said that they have never seen something of this kind, and they would strongly encourage them, because at the end of the day, you might run a quick analysis and you might give a number. But if you don't know what is that all about, then it actually makes no sense. So gains in knowledge without application is always a missed learning opportunity. Okay, so once you do that, you kind of give the problem statement. And now that you have the problem statement, now you're saying what kind of data to collect. Now once you have the problem statement, you will know what to collect. Now see, look at this. Let's say that the firm is facing constant stock out, which is the business problem you identified. Now you think of it, what data would you be needing to solve this? The data that you would be needing, this is some of the examples I've given, is the opening stock, closing stock, buying price, selling price, demand, economics of order quality, quantity, lead time. Now these are your discrete different your metadata, right? For all this, you have to collect the descriptive stats. Okay, and once you get these sufficient variables, you decide what to do, what to plot in line with the problem statement or objective. Now what we see in most of the reports is students simply draw Pareto charts and give us spikes, which is of no use. Everybody knows that 20% of the issues cause 80% of the problems, or 20% of the problems results in 80% of the losses. So we don't need this. If you give us this one, questions at the end, please. So if we do this, then it is absolutely of no use. Okay. Saurabh, the questions at the end, not now. So then what happens is, please, I'll take the questions at the end. You're interrupting me, please. So what happens at the end is that you get sufficient variables and you decide what is to be plotted. Now I've given certain sample graphs. For proposal, it is not needed. It is only given for the sake of illustration, but we expect these kind of graphs. And what we have also done is that we have given you a PDF where we have shown the different graphs that can be drawn. Okay, if you have a qualitative versus quant, what are the graphs that you can draw, versus quant, what graphs can you draw? And there is a PDF. Please have a look at it and you'll get an idea. So then you have a section which is referred to as expected timelines. Now what is expected timelines? It should be explained using two things. One is work breakdown structure and Gantt chart. This comes from the concept of the project management. Now what happens is, in work breakdown structure, basically you're breaking down the work and explaining the different parts. So for example, if you're constructing a house, you will need a foundation and what will be done in that. So similarly for your project, you're going to break down each particular component and you're going to explain in detail. That is referred to as work breakdown structure, something like this. And finally, you're going to give a Gantt chart, which is a chart of timelines, how you're going to proceed. So you ask me, like, one is completing, and why is that something is coming, going together with it? It's possible, right? We can do multiple things together. In some cases, what will happen is you have to complete one stage to start with the next stage, where the output of one section in some cases would be input to the next. But in some cases, you can start it parallelly as well. And that is what is Gantt chart. So you're going to kind of describe with respect to your project, what is that your project is like, how long, I mean, you kind of anticipate and you kind of give these timelines, which could vary as well at a later stage. Now, what are the expected outcomes? The expected outcomes are nothing but what deliverables would be provided at the end of the project report, and what are the implications or insights you are expecting from this project. Obviously, in the proposal stage, it is too early, but then you will be having an idea, right, as to what could be the possible expectations, implications, or insights that you'd be given. Jot it down, and remember, these insights should come from the graph and that you've done based on analysis of data and not intuition. So let's say that you simply give us some insights and we don't see a correlation of that with the plots that you have drawn. It is wrong. I mean, it will be rejected. Merely drawing graphs, writing poor reports, or kind of drawing Pareto charts does not serve the purpose. It gets rejected, and so don't do that. Now, graphical analysis is provided in the midterm and not for the proposal. I had just shown you there in the document because so that you guys get an idea. All the documents need to have page numbers. Very, very important. Professionalism is important. Have page numbers, figures, tables indicated in the figure, have the right axis. I hope you know what axis is. X axis, what is it, what are the units? Everything is important, because these smaller things give you marks. Applicable from midterm, justify the rationale for drawing a particular graphs. Do not simply draw graphs. You have to mention why these graphs have been drawn. And we have not prepared separate documents for midterm and final, so we have shown you for proposal. We expect you to build on this for final. Okay. And we strongly recommend that you use these reference books that we have shared. I mean, I've kind of given 4 books. The first 2 is definitely a worth buy. All 4 can be bought. So if I think that is something which is not only for this subject but for your life as well. It is very, very useful and it is very good. I'll be teaching a bit on that maybe 2-3 weeks from now, but these are very, very useful and handy textbooks. So then we have a document which is on FAQs, because I know that a lot of you have questions. So what we did was we made a document for FAQs. And in fact, I would like to say that we have crafted the highest number of documents across this BS program. And all these documents don't take you more than 15 minutes of your time. So how is the submission cycle? So it is open throughout the year, every month. So there were questions like, can we submit? You can submit throughout the year. Once you register and pay the fees, it is valid for 2 terms. And let's say that you have registered in May, your 2 terms are valid till December, right? So it's valid till December year end. If you fail to complete after 2 terms, you have to register again and pay the fees. Now, any queries pertaining to registration, do not ask me, because I do not know, nor Aditya knows it. You please check it with the support team and write to Sindhuja. If you're facing any issues with the portal submission, kindly send an email to BDM capstone and with the CC to us. If you want to kind of swap the project from primary to secondary or vice versa, okay, then raise a ticket from the portal by providing justification. There was a comment in the chat, how do I do primary or secondary? So when you click in, when you log in into it, we have a slider. If you want primary, choose primary. If you want secondary, you use secondary one. So if you mix primary with secondary, it is rejected, because if you're doing primary, do only primary. We don't want a comparison of primary and secondary. Let's say that you collected some data and then you're saying that, okay, now we are doing a competitor analysis. It is secondary, because you're not collecting data of competitors, but it is already available with something and you're going to compare. So that becomes secondary as well. And after that, what happens is that if the portal is to be reset due to change in business projects, so many times what happens with the students is that they work with the business and then the business owner says, no, we cannot do it, or they don't get a support, and you want to do a new business. Again, what you have to do is you have to raise ticket from the portal. Okay. You have to raise ticket from the portal, and this is the portal link. And the link for submitting the proposal is the same. And always don't raise more than 1 ticket. It will be automatically flagged. Once, if you raise more than 1 ticket, then what would happen is that it will be flagged and you will be blocked for 2-3 days. So make sure that you just make sure you read it and just raise one particular thing. And whether we have to accept or not is a decision which is with me and Aditya, and we decide this based on the justifications that you provide. Please mute yourself. Okay. Now, if the submission is made in September, will it be counted in May term or September term? The submission will be counted in September term, given that your submission is in September. And spillovers, if any, will always be considered in that term. And with regard to anything on I grades, we have absolutely no information. Please reach out to the support team. And what are the primary ways to get good marks in the project? So if you do a secondary, if you are doing secondary data project, you only get D and D grades, and we strongly recommend you not to do it. It's a waste of your time, because you put in efforts, but let's say you don't have time to collect data and things like that, then you can go with it. But the only grades that you get is D and D. The best way to get the grades is like attend all the session, read the rubrics and documents we have shared. Most of the students don't do it. Most of them have no ideas of the sessions or documents and submit simply just like that. And in such cases, what happens is that it's not possible to score. I mean, if you don't attend live sessions, if you don't read the documents, if you simply submit, you will not score marks. And some of them, like, they just want certificate, they do substandard work and submit. Again, we do check, the TAs do check it very thoroughly. It will be rejected. Revisit your BDM theory course and build your project based on those learnings, and read the textbooks that we have mentioned in the rubrics. And then there are different FAQs which you can read. And what are the common causes of rejections? I've given that. In the interest of time, I wouldn't be speaking much on that. Okay, so now let me also go with how to identify. Okay, what is needed in the proof of originality? So is the other thing that we have on proof of originality. So I told you that when you're doing with primary project, we need this proofs, right? And proofs helps establish credibility. So what is the first proof that we need is the video of interaction with the business owner. So it can be 3 to 8 minutes and can also be longer. There is no time limit. It can be in any language. If it is another language, please transcribe and give it as a brief, which means you don't have to write 10 pages. In a paragraph, in 4 5 lines, what was the key points discussed. This is not applicable for those doing secondary data. Okay, for secondary data, this is not needed. What should be discussed? You can discuss on anything. You can ask for a short intro, the problem the business is facing, what did they do, was it recurring or one time, and what are their expectations from the project. Or what you could also do is, maybe once you do something, and what did they think about this particular project. Anything could be done. Pictures, images, and flowcharts of the firm. This will help us establish credibility. And if you do not give pictures, images, and videos, what we do is we reject it. We are generous with this. And most importantly, I want to indicate one thing. You can do the video you can do this videos on Gmeet as well. But then if you're doing the videos on Gmeet, your pictures, videos, and letter will help us establish credibility. But if that is also not possible, then the report gets rejected. Okay, so let's say that you simply click a picture and send it to us. We are not going to accept it. So it is for this reason it has been put as a checkpoint. Now there was some question, what should be done for unstructured business? The answer is in point number 3. Letter from firm in letterhead with stamp and sign. It is not possible for unstructured business. In such case, you can just draft a letter and get their signature. For structured business, the letter should indicate that you have indeed conducted the project with their firm and provide details which can be verified, like GST number or the designation or the facts which we can verify. So and how to provide all this in this report? So which is very simple. You have to, this is needed from midterm onwards. Submit as a drive link and give us free access. I want to indicate one thing here, that we don't store your data. We just have a look at it during correction, and it is purged. All the TAs have signed a non-disclosure agreement. Okay. And then for secondary projects, clearly indicate and provide where the data has been collected from. So kindly note that it should be specific to the business. And if you do some random analysis and attaching some hypothetical names, it will lead to rejection. And most importantly, simply don't pick pictures throughout the report to increase the page length. So proof of originality, it is for that reason I indicated in point number 3 that you have to point number 4 that you have to submit as a drive link and give access. So if you simply add 5 pictures to make it 10 pages, it will not be passed. And then finally, most important thing is the student needs to store data with them until the completion of the report. We don't store your data. It's your job. In the event this is not provided at any stage, the student will receive a failure rate. So we had one student who crossed 3 stages. In the final, he says that he does not have the data. We could not clear him because without that, we cannot pass the student. So it is your responsibility. Keep it in your Gmail, keep it in your pen drive, keep it in 2-3 emails. It is very, very important for you to maintain the data. And this is a standard practice which is followed everywhere. And this is an ethical and a standard practice followed everywhere. No data, no proofs is equal to a rejection. We also have launched 2 books. This book was launched during your Paradox. I have also sent you a copy of this. It is called as Quid Pro Quo. And this was done for the corporates. And do have a read of this particular book. We have kind of highlighted 15 different student projects. And there is clearly, we have explained what is organized sector, what is an unorganized sector. We have shown 15 different student projects in one page. We also last month launched a book, which is a big book for the students, which is a 250-pager one. We're working on the copyrights of that. So that would also be shared shortly within 2-3 weeks from now, wherein all the testimonials of the students, the project reports, and many things are also available in those reports. And then how do you identify problem? So problem identification is the most important step. So let's say that if your problem identified is wrong, the very first step of any particular project exercise is to identify the right problem. Okay, so if you do not identify the right problem, whatever you do, how much ever well an analysis is done, it is wrong. So problem identification is the very first step. Okay, so what happened is I and Aditya spoke to a few vendors who are into general trade. And I hope you know that there are 2 kinds of trade. One is your general trade and one is modern trade. I hope I don't have to explain what general and modern trade is. General trade is all your small businesses which kind of constitute 60 to 70% of the business in India. And after speaking to them, we identified the following problems. Okay, so they said that opportunistic behavior by employees, neighboring shops, and business owners. So what they typically do is that, they try to poach customers, back bitching, speak about them. Now the first point is that, can I collect data on this? The answer is no. So you see what is happening. So the first point was that, okay, this was the point which one of the owners said. We made a note of this, and when we thought, okay, could we collect data on this? The answer is no. Okay, because it is all qualitative in nature and we need numbers, right? So this was a no. The second one, price bidding to win a customer. Okay, now what happens is that in B2C, we know that customers are price conscious. You understand what is price conscious? Price elastic, right? So which means that price fluctuates, your demand also fluctuates. And while financial bonding is not something which is kind of advisable, always everybody wants lower prices. And can data be collected on this? The answer is yes. Let's say that they went, and how much are the losses that occurred because of it, what is the opportunity cost loss, so on and so forth. So this is possible. We can collect data on this. Customers purchase on credit and repay in 5-10 installments. This is a serious problems. Sometimes they even default. Can I collect data on this? The answer is still an yes, right? Because this data is available with the business. Yes, so whenever we have a wholesale shop, I mean, my brother has a wholesale business. So people do not pay them on time. They take it on credit and they pay them, let's say, after 5-6 months. So what happens is that, you know do we have information on this? The answer is yes. Presence of middlemen agents in the business, can we do something on this? The answer is still an yes, because when you have a middleman, there are certain what do you say, there are certain commissions which are involved here. So you can compute commissions. The business will have information on how much commissions that were paid, so on and so forth. So can this be used? The answer is a yes. Then we have suppliers quality shirking practices, which means that they kind of do type 1 and type 2 error. Again, this is little bit difficult to collect data. Unpredictable demand, which is very easy. This happened during the COVID-19 pandemic, where absolutely none of the vendors had an idea of what was the demand and what was the supply. So can some data be collected on this? The answer is yes. And then kind of dependency, right? So if you have lower availability of alternatives, which means it creates a dependency. For example, let's say that you want to buy a t-shirt, right? So you have Lifestyle, you have Zara, you have Big Bazaar, Reliance, many Color Plus, Raymond's, United Colors of Benetton. There are different brands, so you can switch easily. But what happens in B2B is that the number of customers are less, and when the number of customers are less, it is difficult to switch, because you are in a lock-in relationship. So you are now dependent on the supplier. So can we do something on this? Is the data available? The answer is still an yes. Poor work-life balance. We unfortunately, we do read a lot about mental health and other issues. Recently, we saw that the E&Y employee who had mental, it was very unfortunate that we know what are the consequences of this. But can we do something on this? The answer is no, because this is not something easily available. And finally, we kind of found out some information on unprofitable customers. Every business will have different customers, right? There are some customers in our business who buy from us most of the time, but they're not profitable. So as a business owner, what you should do is that you retain your profitable customers, you convert unprofitable into profitable customers, which means that you stop all the freebies, move from free to fee, and then you fire customers, those who are not profitable. For example, we had a vendor and my brother used to sell to him all possible time, and then the margins were almost nothing. And then I said that, okay, like, if you want to continue with us, and this is the revised pricing. And he kind of, there was a little bit of backlash, and he left us. But then he had to return us back to us after 1 week, because there was nobody who was ready to pay him for that. So you can compute all these things as well. And then loyalty is conditional always. So it's a myth that in B2B, also it is price inelastic. They also are price elastic at times. They're also price sensitive. So you can read a beautiful paper by this one if you're interested. Not mandatory, but if you're interested. And there are other factors like, if you want your licenses, bribe is to be given for certifications, food licenses, which is very common in India, right? So this is to be done. But can the data be collected on this? Answer is still a no. So out of these 11 problems that we identified, you'll see that we can collect data on 4 or 5 points and not all the points. So now once you speak to the business owner, you will identify what are the different problems, and then you take a call. Okay, there are 11 problems defined. Which of these I want to work on? Let's say you shortlisted 4 of these 4. Is data available on all 4? If the answer is yes, then you decide whether you want to do all 4, or you want to take all one, you want to take standalone, which is 1, and then decide whether you can do this, so on and so forth. Is this clear? So I have one final document. I don't want to bore you much. uh, one final document before I will do insights on this one in the next session, which is the insights will happen in the next session. I just have one final document for you on Vijay Ram's Cafe. Just give me a minute. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So this is a case which we Aditya and I wrote based on I mean we this was based on our personal observations and interactions with the business owners. So I hope that you all go to Paradox, and Chennai is a beautiful place. I love Chennai a lot, and in fact when you go to Chennai, one of the most happening places in Chennai is a place called T Nagar. Okay, and T Nagar is a beautiful place known for shopping, street side shopping and many things. And there what happened is that when uh, the COVID pandemic came in, I had to vacate my hostel and I had to find some accommodation near T Nagar. And that is when I met this person. And he runs a coffee business, and it was started by his father in 1975. It is run by an elderly man and his son Senthil. And they have two outlets in a place called T Nagar. And they just what they do is that they sell coffee. Now, what happens is that Senthil's father is pretty old. So he sits for 30 minutes or an hour, but it is Senthil who popularized this particular outlet. They have an Instagram page too. I've given the link. Go back and check, and you will see there are many shops in the vicinity. Like there are around 20 tea shops. But what is happening is that this guy is very popular. Everybody's selling the same tea and snacks, but this guy is popular. This kind of tells that there is a point of difference between this. Now, if you look at the pricing, the quality of Vijay Ram is fantastic. Others give you like watery tea for $10, but this guy's cost is like, if you compare the cost among those 15 shops, his cost is around 30, $40, but still people prefer it. Now that's interesting, right? Because we are price sensitive. Now, what has happened is, one is his quality is good. Second, the thing is, when so I was naturally curious, how is that this guy is attracting and crowd puller and so on and so forth. And then I uncovered the following things. One is that he did not sell any tobacco related products. So normally in coffee tea shops you'll see tobacco, cigarettes and things like that which is sold. It wasn't sold. Second thing is he introduced something called as a wafer biscuit coffee. You have a wafer biscuit and you have coffee in that. It became an instant hit, which he only introduced. Now he kept only those items in stock which he felt would move and add value. For example, he kept the puff sundal is something made of chickpea, boiled pulses, mini samosas, lassi, buttermilk, and he maintained consistent stocks irrespective of variation in demand, which means that all these things used to be sold in less than an hour or two. And I used to ask him, why are you not storing much? And he said that, look, the thing is, I'm happy with this one. And then I realized that one day, like, you get more and it doesn't sell, then it is actually a loss, right? So he was very good at it. So he knew exactly that these things remain fresh for 2 to 3 hours, and after 2 to 3 hours, the freshness goes. So he was very clear that he just was happy with it. Okay. And then what he did was that he started sandwiches. It gave him good business. Slowly, the sales started coming down. It went down south. And then he phased it out very, very slowly. And then what he did was that when competitors around were there, he introduced something called coffee shots. Okay. And it was priced at $10, and he got more customers. And he knew every trick in the book that would drive sales. In addition, he knew the immense power of social media. So what he did is that he invited these popular bloggers like Irfan and things like that, and he gave them, which gave him a lot of publicity. Obviously, his quality was good, and it was not just publicity. And he never compromised on quality, and he took feedback seriously. More importantly, what I liked about this particular guy is that coffee shop, he doesn't have to bother, but he always made it a point to come and speak to the customers, and the customers kind of felt a connect. So naturally, even if there were tea shops around, they felt that, okay, guy is nice. You see, this is how you kind of build bonding, and this is how we manage retention and what do you say, acquisition and retention. This is how was managed successfully. You see how it is. He became a celebrity. This guy. I mean, the photo is small. Only the half face is available, but it became an instant hit. Go back and check things around. So you'll find more information about his coffee shop. So this is what I briefly wanted to cover in 1 hour. So there were other topics as well, but for now I'm good, and I would now pass it on to my friend Aditya, who will take your questions, and we will take your questions. So what you can do is raise your hands, okay, and we will go as per the order. Please do raise your hands so that we can go as per the order. And one more thing before Aditya starts is that uh, every session that we take, what we do is that we ask students to give us feedback, because the feedback gives us an opportunity to plan and deliver well. So this is the only session where the faculties actually kind of take this. So I mean, we are interested, so that is why we always take this. So here is the feedback form. So we request you to please fill in the feedback form, give us feedback. You liked it, did not like it. We take every feedback, we value every feedback, whether it is good or bad. Okay, so please raise your hands and we go with the questions one by one. I'll now pass it on to Aditya. I'll take a break for 10 minutes and let Aditya handle it from now. Over to you, Aditya.
Yeah. So I hope the session was good. You have a better understanding of the project. So there are a couple of questions I'm seeing in a chat. Still a lot of confusions are there. Like the first thing I want to clarify, like I started from the scratch. So the first question is something like why you are doing the project, right? So a lot of people are thinking about this, like I'm doing a data science degree, so why to do a project which includes a business data, right? So in data science, what exactly you are doing? You are finding a data, right, to analyze. Like if you are going for the company, any of the data analytics company, they'll collect data. They'll not tell you like what data is this, right? That data might be something from the government organization. Data might be something from some farming shop or some farming company, or it is from any of the domain, right? So from this, like you will get understanding like data is not something like it is bounded to only a one segment, right? It is like broadly, if you see, it is you will find data everywhere. Like when we are talking, when we are having a communication, when we are having a meetings, it is also a form of data. Like by our conversation, the data is generating, right? So data is everywhere. So that is why like the degree itself is your data science and application, right? So why to do the project? Like so here the answer is that when you are just doing this degree, right? So this degree is something like you are learning a lot of things, right? You are learning a lot of classroom. In classroom, you are learning a lot of things like a lot of algorithms, a lot of theories, right? But how to apply that theories in the real problem? It's a big challenge, right?
Please mute yourself. It is causing disturbance. Tejasvi,
Yeah,
Tejasvi,
Tejasvi.
please.
Yeah. So the thing is that like when you are just Tejasvi, can you mute yourself? Otherwise, I have to remove you. Okay, fine. So these are the things like the first thing is that when you are going for the classroom things, you have a lot of concepts are there. Like when I and Ashwin was there, like we are reading a lot of books, we have a lot of concepts, right? When we are going to apply that concepts or algorithms or techniques, what you are learning, right, in the real life problem, then we will find the difficulties, right? There are big mathematical equations, but how to apply that mathematical equation with the data? Data is in the form of sheets, in the form of digits, in the form of numerics, right? So how to apply the data, how to apply the algorithm on the data, it's a big challenge. So this project, now here comes the importance of the project. So this project is something where you can collect a data, okay, where you will go to some business, where you will collect a data, and from that data you'll just able to find out like what exactly you can do from that particular data. It's something like you are not aware of like what the data is saying about, right? When you see the data, you are able to find out something, okay, these are the trends are coming, but why the trends are coming, that you have to explore, okay? So the majorly, like if you see the main task of the project, where the student faces difficulties or find it challenging, right? It's a data collection activity. So during the data collection activities, there are like we will have a sessions in couple of days. We will just arrange a session where we'll explain you how to pitch to the business. So when you are going to collect the data, when like it's something like it's for all of us, right? So if someone will ask you like what exactly the mobile you are purchased recently, right? A lot of sales is going on. So you'll say I purchased this mobile, right? So he'll just like you have configured on the mobile and now you are using the mobile in front of your friend, right? So when he asks you for the mobile, like just give me a mobile to just see what are the features it is having, then there is some curiosity or some disagreement from inside. Like he'll not see my this particular app, he will not see my this particular app. So why you are concerned more about that? The reason is that some of your data is there and you don't want the data to be shared with anyone. Okay, so similar way when you are going to any of the businesses, so we are not restricting to any particular business. So that is what I see in chat box also. Like a lot of students are asking about the business. So we are not restricting you to any particular business. You are feel free when you are stepping out of your home. You will have opportunities to explore. Like this is the business which will give you a data, right? So unless and until you are getting a data from any business, it is fine. We are not restricting you. Like you have to go for big MNCs, you have to go for multinational companies, you have to go for government organization, you have to go for this particular domain. You are free to go anywhere. Just try to explore. So the thing is that when you are going to collect the data, these things you have to remind, like what the situation you are facing when your friends is taking your mobile and you are feeling some uncomfortableness. The similar way when you are going to the business owner and you'll ask them that about the data, right? Then they'll feel some hesitation, they'll feel some uncomfortness, even though they know like there is something like if they will give you uh, they don't have they don't know the importance of data, even though they'll just concern about this, why you are asking, right? If a known person will ask you how much money you are having right now in your pocket, then obviously you will think why this guy is asking for the money in my pocket. The similar way you are asking something from them without knowing them, like without having any discussion. So this is the key point when you are going to collect the data. You have to be clear. Don't ask for the data in a first meeting. Just try to convince them, like just be familiar with them, right? So if you ask your friends for the assignment when you enroll for the foundation level, right? So when you are discussing with the assignments and all with your friends, so sometimes you are also feeling hesitation, like oh, if you will get the assignment, he'll copy it down and both the assignments are copied. But as soon as you are getting friendly relation and you are having a good connects with your friends, right? Then you'll share your assignments, he will share your assignment, you will copy it and submit it. This is what exactly is happening, right? So this is the main concern, right? If when you are familiar with a business, you can just ask them for a data. But if you are not at all familiar with them, then it is pretty difficult. They'll not give you a data even though they don't know what exactly the data means. All right, so there is no foundation from our side. Okay, and the other thing is that, like, I'll give you an example. Some people are asking about how much data we need. So if you, I'll give you an example. If you, I will just ask you to draw some image, right? Image of anything, right? Image of any village, or if you, I'll just ask you to draw one. Basically, you can say a house, right? Normally, when we are kids, we are just making a drawing. So I'll just restrict you that only you have a 2 points. Within 2 points, you need to draw the line, draw the house. It is not possible. If I'll just give you a more relaxation, I'll tell you like you have a 10 points, right? So from 10 points, you can just connect the 10 points and you can make something, right? And I'll give you a free hand, like you have a flexibility, you can take 1,000 points and draw the images, right? So when you compare from the 2 points, 10 points and 1,000 points, so which will be more accurate? Which design will be more accurate? The 1,000 points will be more accurate, right? So similar way, like if you have more data, if you have nearly a year data, right? So if you have nearly a year data, you will be able to find out the trend, what exactly the pattern you are getting. If you have 10 days data, you won't be able to find out anything, because in 10 days, if fluctuations are coming, you won't be able to identify why these fluctuations are happening. right? So the more data will always be useful. If you have nearly data of a year, right, that is pretty good, right? And if you have a lesser data, then your results will not be more perfect, and in that case there might be the possibilities of your report will get rejected. Okay, so these are the some of the things, like we will have a sessions, regular sessions. You can drop us a mail, and we will address what are the issues you people are having, right? So we have Sunday sessions, a lot of things are there, and soon we are going to launch, like some students are asking, like if it is possible to have a submission in the same cycle. It is not possible. The thing is that this is something like we have automated system. If you have seen the portal, it is something automated. So you see the timelines are blinking. The timelines are blinking. It means the portal will open within that timeline, right? Once the timelines are closed, the portal will close, right? So again, the portal will open for the next submission. That is like if you are a proposal, it is open automatically. It will close automatically. It will open for midterm. So we are not having a manual interference, like, or manual something on the portal, right? So that's why we have only the submission in a single cycle, single submission in a single cycle. If it is rejected, then you have to wait, and you have to work hard, and you have to submit in the next cycle. So that is the main motive. We are having a multiple cycle in term, right? So we have a 3 cycles, and we have all the submission in the cycles, so that if it is rejected, you'll get opportunity to submit in the next cycle and complete it, right? So from this session, like this is the first session of this term, I want to communicate. Don't wait for a last moment. Since past, with our past experience, what we are facing, what we are seeing, the trend is something like all the students are submitting, they are waiting for the last moment, right? Last cycle of the term. So in that case, what happens if the report is rejected on the last cycle, right? So you don't have any option. Now again, you have to re-enroll for the new term, and you have to complete the project, right? So you can just plan it accordingly, at least take a benefit of all the cycles, right? So it will be useful, and if most you will have more energy, and because once you are going for last moment submissions, it will be a like a big headache for you as well, right? Because you don't have any option. You have to complete a project, and last people, like students are saying, like sir, we want to go for the degree conversion, or for other courses, or we don't have a time, we have a job, right? So if you don't plan it properly, then it will be a issue for you. So just try to plan your project. Just try to have systematic planning for the project and complete it easily, right? So don't the other thing is that don't just try to get some reports from some of your friends, some suggestions from your friends. What happens, this project is pretty unique in the sense, like, the problem you are addressing, it's not the same what your friend addressed, right? So if you are taking a data, or if you're consulting with them, so you will get an idea. You can take a basic idea about the guidelines, but related to project, you can't compare your result with him, because the domains are different, data is different, trends are different, right? So there might be the possibilities there should be a difference between your report and your friend reports, right? So make your project to be a unique. You take details from all the guidelines. Just one thing you have to follow, just refer all the guidelines, because all the documents, in all the documents we have shared, everything is covered, right? So if you able to refer the guideline and document properly, then you won't be able to face any challenges in the project. Okay, so this is from my side, and wish you all the best to all. Keep the spirit high, keep the josh high, and just start your project. In case if you people have any problems, right? So regarding technical issues, we are always there. We will try to help you out. For any operational issues, you can just connect with support team. So they'll help you out for the operation challenges, whatever you are facing. For portal issues, you can drop a mails, like in the document Dr. Ashwin shared. We have all the details over there. We have all the email addresses. We have all the links for the YouTube videos, right? Whatever the previous sessions are there. We have some sessions, we had some sessions from the best capstone project awardee students also. So you can refer that section. So that sessions are from different domains. So might be the case you are getting some leads from that sessions. You are getting some understanding what exactly your business and the person who was doing the business, what exactly the similarity between them. You can just try to and get understanding from there. And yeah, that's all from my side. And wish you all the best. We'll just we have a term, right? So we'll try to interact again and again. And yeah, feel free to drop a mail, like but try to structure a mail properly, because if you are you're sending a one page mail, right? So we are very happy if you are writing a report like that, but if you are sending a one page mail, it is very difficult for us to go through the mails for every students. We have nearly 2500 students, right? So just try to make your mail concise, point wise mail, like, so that if we can go through the mail, we'll just come to know from there like what exactly the issues you are having, and we'll try to address the mails as soon as possible, right? So these are the things. Just try to, if you are finding the business, if you have already have a business in your hand, or thoughts of some business in your mind, right? Just try to communicate with them, try to work from now itself, try to find out the business problem, right? And then you can just proceed with the project. Okay.
Okay, so if you
Okay.
have any questions, please raise your hands. And what we'll do is we'll address all your queries. Please don't spam in the chat box, because I tried answering questions, but the number of questions that are coming is so much that it's humanly impossible for me to answer. So what we'll do is please raise your hands. And what we'll do is we'll open the queue and we'll go in an order and we'll address all the questions. Okay. So I hope that is clear. Aditya, you can see who is there in the chat. So we can just start from them.
Yeah, we'll start now. Anupriti.
Yeah, Anuprati, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
I have 3 questions. I'm doing secondary analysis.
You can just ask us one question, because there are so many people entering the queue. So please ask us one question only, and then you can
There's
come back again
also
later.
no question.
Yeah, just ask us one question and then you can come back again later, because in the interest of time, we have to make sure
Yeah,
that
I
everybody
understand.
gets. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Right. I'm doing
Aditya,
secondary
please disable the chat box. Aditya, please disable the chat
Yeah,
box.
yeah, yeah, I did it already.
In secondary analysis, what are we supposed to write in organization background? Because the data set that I've chosen doesn't have anything about the company background.
No, if you don't have the company background, you cannot work, right? So essentially what you have to do is you have to identify a data set which is kind of linked to the company. If there is no if the data set is not linked to the company, then definitely you cannot work on that one.
It just says like an online retailer store.
Online retailer store, then yeah, I mean, you have to find out some details has to be there, right? So if there are no details, then you have to find out details which is available and work on that. Otherwise what would happen is that, since I said in secondary data, it's just accept or reject. It's for that reason we are insisting that there are details available. I mean, if you do a little bit of more search, you'll find businesses with information available. Please mute yourself. Yeah. So you will find information available, and you have to take those businesses where information is available. Otherwise because we need all the heads which has been asked in this thing.
All right, sir, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dev Malya.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello. Good evening,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, sir. I actually have a doubt. Basically, I previously contacted with a business owner. So, what he's actually saying that, as even Ashwin sir also said that to not to share the report and all with anyone. So, but the business owner with whom I contacted, but he's actually demanding that after while I complete the project, I must share with him also. He also wants to. See that. So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that,
So this is the right of the business owner, right? You can just share the report with him. That is absolutely fine.
So what we were only saying is that do not share it with other people, group members. Typically what happens is that you give it to a friend and he says that he'll just have a look at it, and then what they do is they replicate it and they submit. And then what happens is the person who gave the report plus those who did plagiarism both get punished, right? So that is the reason. So for the business, definitely yes, you should be sharing it. They would be happy to see the outcome of it. That's fine.
okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Next, Aditya, who's next?
Arpit, Harshal, Shohan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Arpit,
Uh,
go ahead.
Sir, I want to take a yoga startup which is 6 months old, and there are less number of footfalls with respect to the price. The price are made through just our subscription and so on. So, would it be considerable as a project?
Yeah, you can do on any project. So there were many questions. Can we do on this, that? You can do on any business. Okay, whether it's family business, startup, structured, unstructured, anything works for us. Okay, as long most important thing that you have to do is it's not data collection. The first step is to speak to the business owners, which is the startup owner in your case, and identify the problems that they are facing. Okay, so that is the very first step. So if as long as that is done and you are able to identify, it is okay with us. Not a problem.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Harshal was next, right, Aditya?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Harshal.
Yes. So
Harshal.
my doubt was, I have a senior who is ready to connect me to his business. So I thought that even if this company is same, I will do my own analysis and I will do everything on my own. Just I want that connection from him. Can I
But
do
the
Okay.
that?
thing,
Yeah,
Harshal,
Aditya.
here one thing is there. If you are just taking the same company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your business problem should be totally different, and you have to update us in advance. Like, this is the project you are doing with this company, and this is your senior has done the project, so that we can validate it and we can allow you. Otherwise, if you submit the
Okay.
same business, right, it will be plagiarized automatically from the portal, and
Mm-hmm.
it will go for a disciplinary action. So you have to in advance you have to ask and take a permission, like, this is what the business and this is what the business problem you are working on, you will be working on, and
Okay.
this is the business problem your senior he did the project on this business problem, right? So you have
All
to
right. All
share
right.
the reports, and then we will allow
Yeah.
you based
So
on that.
basically, you have to give the details so that we can cross check that. And what we'll also do is we'll check your submission with his or her submission.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is any similarity, then I mean, it is not allowed. So make sure that give us the information and then you can go ahead. There is no problem.
All right. Can I ask one more doubt?
You have to come next because there is a long queue, but we'll take later. Okay.
All right. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Shohan.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. My doubt was that, if I consider a government data which is not available anywhere, like in the even the government portals or website, so is it considered as like a primary or the secondary
No,
data? Because like
government data which is not available anywhere, what do you mean? Because government data tends to be like if you have it in a repository or open repository which is explicit, which can be taken out, it is secondary. It doesn't become primary. Now, how do you collect primary data? There were some questions on this, so let me answer. So you speak to the business owner and the business owner gives you the data. Like I told you
yeah,
that pricing was an issue and they say, okay, this is the entries that we made and we see that these are the losses. So that is one way of collecting. The second way of collecting primary data is you do surveys. Okay, let's
yes,
say that they don't have data, then you do surveys and kind of get the data. That is second way. Now there was one more question, like how do you collect data from vendors, like vegetable vendors and businesses? I'm answering. It's good that you asked him so that 3-4 questions get addressed. So these vendors will not maintain data. So what you'll have to do is that first thing is that you have to tell them why is this particular thing important. I'll narrate a kind of a story later as to why this has been done, and then you can give them a sheet kind of saying that if you can make this entry at the end of the day, you can go once in a week, collect it and come and then do the analysis. This is the other possible way to collect data. So these are the 3 possible ways to collect primary data. But let's say if it is available on any public site or something which is freely available, then it is not primary data, then it is secondary data.
yes, I completely understand that. But
Mhm.
my reference is that my father works in the power ministry in the government of Karnataka. So he told that he has some data and then which is not available in the government websites or any portal.
Yeah,
So
but
is it
what is that data? See, the point is that
like
firstly, I mean, maybe you don't would not want to say it in the live this thing here because this is a live platform, but we will have to have a look at it. Okay, so what you can do is that briefly what you want to do, you can just write and send to us. We can just kind of verify and then let you know whether it is fine or not fine.
yes, sir. The
Okay.
data mainly concentrate not solving a problem, but like just to resolve, like example for solars or something, installation of
No,
solars.
then no, then it will not be. Then it is not possible. So then it's not a business problem actually.
Okay.
So
So like
business problems are those pressing issues which the business is facing. and if these problems are not resolved, it can impact the business. Whereas in this case, that's not a problem at all, right? It's
Okay,
not a
that's
business
just
problem.
giving a solution here,
Yeah,
right?
it's just giving a solution to a problem. It could be a technical issue, right? So that is why I said there is a difference between a business problem versus a technical problem. What you're saying is more of a technical related issue for which you're looking at these technical solutions, right?
Okay, sir. Okay, yes, sir.
Got it.
Got it.
And I
Yes, sir.
request all of you to please fill in the feedback forms so that we can this thing, and do not worry about this data and how to approach businesses. In the coming weeks, we will tell you every step what is to be done, and even we'll take your questions, but we will kind of clarify and tell you how to even approach business, how is that you have to speak, how to write mails, everything we would tell you. Everything matters. Okay. The next one, Aditya.
Yeah, next is Devin.
Dwayne.
Hello,
Dwayne. Yeah,
am I
Dwayne.
audible?
Yes, Dwayne. Go ahead.
Okay, so uh, will you be saving business data, and what if they don't want to share their specific data? And can you define independent research?
Okay, so first thing is we do not store any data. Though it is only used for checking purpose and it gets purged. So everybody is bound by a non-disclosure agreement. So this particular data is not shared with anybody and it is purged. It is only you who have to save it. You can just give a view mode. Okay, you don't have to even give an editor mode. And then once your thing is done, it is only used for your midterm and final checks, and then it is not needed. And then for your Viva OC. What is meant by independent project is that you do this project on your own. Okay, what we saw in some, last year what we found out was that two students did the same project, and they you have so much volumes, right? It is difficult to track each and every student. At the Viva OC, we kind of found out that both of them worked on the same problem and the same business with the same data. Two of them worked together and made one report. So that is not acceptable. Independent is you do it on your own.
But it does not have to include a research publication, right?
No, who said there is no need of research
No,
publication?
normally when people talk, I just wanted to know the premise of the independent research which you were talking about. That's all.
No. That's not. It's just your project, right? So independent project. It's not independent research. I said it's an independent project that you do. Okay, so
Okay.
it's independent project, and you're not going to publish anything. Nothing. If you want, you can do it later. And if the business is okay and you want to make a case study out of it, it's fine.
Okay. Okay. That's
Okay,
all
but
I wanted to
otherwise,
know.
yeah, that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
Who's the next one, Aditya? The next one, please.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Devaduti. Huh.
Yeah, Devaduti. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Actually, I'm in the midterm state of the project. So actually, I had a doubt. I mailed you. I spoke with the business. They actually mailed me from their official mail ID, like for a business like Charnak Hospital, Charnak
Okay.
Hospital mail
Okay,
ID.
I get the context. So what happens, Devadyuta, is for proof of originality, we need the following documents. Okay, so one is the letter, which in your case, your email can be used as proxy for that. Okay. The second thing is we would need some details like proofs, like pictures or anything that is available. So pictures, the video that you discuss, if these things are not available, the proof of originality does not get passed. Okay, only mail cannot be used. In addition to the mail, we need some other details as well. So that is what I mean in the proof of originality. If you see, we said pictures, images, videos. If the letter is not up to the mark, then pictures, images, and video, which helps us establish credibility. With an email, we cannot decide something.
No, sir. The thing is, yeah, I have the pictures and the videos. I made them
Huh.
ready. Actually, when I spoke with the business, I said I needed it on the letterhead stamped and signed. They said that from we are mailing it from our official mail ID,
That works.
so it
That
is good.
works.
Is that
Yeah,
works?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sir.
It works. No problem. Absolutely fine.
Okay, sir.
It is fine. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Next one.
Good evening, sir. This is Aman.
Yeah, Aman.
Uh,
Yes, Aman.
about speaking to business. I work at a firm. It is a startup with a low number of employees. So our owner is not really very available for conversations. So can I take data from our manager or any senior
Okay.
like CDL?
It's not data. You have to speak to your manager and identify the problem. It's not collecting the data. That's what I'm saying. If you do the step
Yes,
number
yes.
2 without doing step number 1, you have to first speak. You can speak to your manager and also identify what challenges he is facing, right? Because the manager more or less also knows what issues are happening around. So yeah, that works for us.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Next question, please.
Yeah, good evening, and thanks for such a good session, first of all. Yeah, and I had a little goofy doubt, especially the name pretty much says it. But any luck with doing the project in collaboration with non-profit organizations?
You can do it as long as there is a business problem identified. You can do it, no problem.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sir,
Sandesh. Yeah.
sir, I have some people with service service startups, sir. They are architecture service.
Hmm.
Can I interview them?
Yeah, I mean, see, the point is not interviewing. The point is you reach out to them and try to identify. You can do it with any business, as I said. Any business works, whether it is structured and structured service, manufacturing, automobile, vegetable vendor. Any business is okay. No problem.
Okay, sir. I also run web development business, sir. Can I use my data to?
If you run your own business, you can still do that. No, it is better for you only, and you everything is available with you. So for you, it will not be a problem at all. You can do that as well. If you have your own business, it is better to do with that itself.
But this is not registered, sir. I am doing web development business.
No, web develop. If there is something which we can cross check, validate, if it is registered in your name, it is fine. If you're doing it as a freelancer, then no.
Okay.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you,
So
sir.
if it is registered, or at least something should be there, right? Some footprints has to be there. If something where we can verify, it is fine. But if it is like freelance work, then it cannot be considered as a business. No, it is freelancing work.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Next question, please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarthak, I think. Sarthak is the
Sharat.
next.
Okay, Sarthak.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
Yeah, so my question was that if we are going through the secondary route,
Mm-hmm.
and I found a very popular data set, and which some other people might also come across that data set,
Mm-hmm.
and we have used the same data set,
Mm-hmm.
then is that a problem?
No, it's not a problem as long as the analysis is different, right? So even let's say that I and Aditya work on, let's say we do go to the same business and we do it. It is not going to be the same. The analysis and many things are going to change, right? So in that case, it will not be the same. So because there is always a possibility that 5 or 10 may end up with the same data sets, but then in that case, we'll also be checking the analysis. If similarity is found, then only it is a thing. Otherwise, your analysis, the way you write, everything will be different, right? So that is the answer.
So with the secondary data, we witnessed some of the issues, which maybe I'll highlight you. So there are issues, something like in Kaggle, if you see, there are full reports also, all the documents are there, so graphs are there. So what students are doing, they're copying the same graph and just making a report from there itself. They're just taking a document directly from there and editing the document little bit and sharing. So if this is the case, like it will be plagiarized, because at least you can take a data from there, right? Data you can take from the source, but try to find out the business problem from the data, right? And just make it like the approach or the solutions, or like what are the analysis you are doing, it should be different. It should not be same. So if you take the same plots from Kaggle or whatever the source you are taking, if the plots are there, there might be the case like your report will be copied from someone else, because someone else will take data and he will also copy the same plots. Right? So in that case, there might be the possibilities. But if you are just approaching, so what exactly you need to do? You have to, when you are just from the secondary data, when you are taking a data from some source, just try to visualize, try to clean the data, try to see the patterns, right? So because there is no one there, like if you're going for online data, there is no one who will just tell you this is the business problem, right? So in that case, you have to identify the business problem based on the data, right? So you have to see like what exactly your data is explaining about. So you have to visualize the data, you have to clean the data, and then you have to visualize the data again. From there you will find it out, okay, these are some of the random trends you are getting, and based on that you can formulate a business problem. So it is a reverse process.
Yeah, it can be
Right?
a forward process too. It
Yeah.
could be a reverse process too with secondary. Okay.
Right.
Sometimes where things are identified very clearly and you can do, otherwise you go it the reverse way.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Pranil, then Nilotpal, and then Ronak. Pranil, yes.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, sir. So the like Kirana store I approached, it's a small store and it's a family-run store, but it's been run for quite some time now. So like, how do I like figure out what the problems are? Because it's been run for so much time that they
No,
almost
so
have
how many, for
figured
how many years you are interacting with that shop?
out. Couple
Since
of
how
years.
long you have been interacting? How long you have been interacting? So the best thing that you do is just strike an enter. See, when I showed you how we identified problems with vendors, right? 11 problems. So what
Yes.
we did was we were interacting with them on a regular basis, and then we asked them like, okay, what is happening around? How is the business doing? I mean, how is your business doing? So just ask them questions. In the next session, which I do, I'll specifically kind of touch upon this. Today, being an orientation, I did not want to kind of give a lot of information, but you kind of ask them different questions. Okay, so uncle, how is the business going around? What do you think is happening? I mean, is it kind of working out for you or not? I mean, what problems are you facing currently? Slowly, and then what happens is it doesn't emerge out in one or two meetings. Sometimes, when you speak, or you find something and you say that, oh, online thing impacting your business. Okay, or are shops around by taking it out? What is happening with this online delivery and things like that? What do you think is happening? Where are the margins? So that is how you slowly beat around, and then you come to that. Okay, so it
Okay.
starts like with a big thing, and then it will come and converge at one point.
All right. Yeah.
It,
Also, like we don't store.